Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome back to our Working Together series live with Rabbi Karmi Ingber. We're just waiting for the rabbi to show up in the Zoom room. Just having a chat with some people there with the Netiv group. Let's jump right in and say hello. Just coming into the room.
Yeah, well,
James,
Rabbi,
there you are. Rod,
there you
you're
go.
live on the air. We're
Well,
going
I
to
was
turn
just
it
going to
over.
say, while the rabbi is getting his camera
Set
straight and
up.
his microphone on, I just wanted to say I really appreciate all the hard work you do, Dan, to make this happen every Sunday and to get it
Yeah.
on so many different platforms. You're doing an
It's been
outstanding
it's
job.
been crazy. Like I was saying, Rod, I've had to deal with about 200 AI generated false copyright infringement claims, and I have to write out a dispute for every one of them. And it's just
That's
it's work on top
insane.
of work. Yeah. Even our
Yeah.
last week's class, I had like four companies make copyright claims against, and I got a dispute. Of
Wow.
course, I win the disputes, but it's like it's extra work on top of work
Oh,
that seems
absolutely. And it'll
fruitless.
take you days to go through that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That wow. Sorry to hear that.
Well, when you try to
Rabbi?
give inequality, yeah, they just AI is it's the negative side of the AI for sure.
Mm-hmm.
When they're using it as a weapon to mute, it's almost like censorship. But Rabbi, so good to see you're with us.
Good
Here, there's a bit of a
wall.
reprieve in Israel right now, and we hope all's well with you. And we're going to turn the class over
Yeah,
to you,
well,
sir.
this morning we did wake up to a siren. This morning, 6:30 in the morning, I was sleeping and the siren went off. The Houthis had sent something over, and we woke up in the middle of to a siren, jumped into the bomb shelter. That was this morning. So, the ceasefire is an interesting way to put it. Yeah. Anyway, that's the story. Okay, good. Let's jump in. Do you want to say anything else, Dan? I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted you to know that what the latest. Okay, good to see everyone. Hope we're doing well. All right. I want to talk to you a little bit today about the Torah portion and how that fits into the world situation. Okay. Those who learned the Torah portion this week. So we really have the story of Esav. Esav really becomes the father of Rome. It says in the text, he says, "Who Edom?" He becomes Rome. Rome really was in Hebrew is Edom, which means red, and that's the story in the Torah, in the Bible, the Torah, that says that and when he saw the lentils, he says, "Give me that red stuff." I want that red stuff, and it's called Adom in Hebrew, so he's called Edom, which is Rome. So when the Torah tells us that he asked for the red stuff, it's significant. It's not simply saying, "Oh, he likes red." It's got a lot of connotations. One connotation is it says he is red, and he was red as a color, but he liked blood too. He was the masters of war. Rome is a war machine. And though we don't know today every country what they are, but the Western world on the whole is considered to be an outgrowth of Rome. And as I mentioned to you in the book of Daniel, where the Roman Empire then divides as the 10 horns in the vision of Daniel. So we don't know exactly who is what. My assumption is America should be one of the horns because it certainly is one of the great Western kingdoms that arose afterwards. So he's called Rome, Edom. I want to explain to you a little bit about the story and how it relates to the negative, potentially the positive, and what has to affect you all in terms of the righteous non-Jew and those who really are involved in the Rome development. Like we don't know who genetically somebody is because the conqueror Sancherib, it says, be mixed up the world. In the time of the Assyrian kingdom, they used to conquer a nation, and then they used to mix them all up. So we don't know exactly who is who exactly, and certainly America, which is a melting pot. But there's also spiritual things that become the norm in the Western world. So I want to hook you into understanding that and the dangers and the solutions. Okay, so the basic storyline in the Torah portion is that Esav and Yaakov are two children of Yitzchak and Rebecca, Rivka, or Isaac in English. And Yitzchak, Isaac, wants to give the blessings to the older of the twins, who is Esav. And he is blind in later part of his life. And one of the reasons he's blind is that this story will happen this way, because God wanted to give the blessing to Jacob, to Yaakov, and not to Esav. And he wanted it to come in a certain process where Yitzchak would not realize that, and for various reasons that he wanted to come through another system where Yitzchak wasn't sure, and then Jacob would take the blessings, and then Yitzchak would have to realize something about Esav he didn't realize. So the question is, the obvious question everyone asks is, wait a minute, Esav's not a good guy. On the day that he sold his birthright to Jacob, he just killed someone. He had denied God. He had raped a betrothed woman. He wasn't like a good guy. And so the question is, how did the prophet Isaac Yitzchak seem to be confused or deluded? I understand he's blind, but he's a prophet. He should know what this person in front of him is. And more than that, he should certainly know who his other son, the righteous Yaakov, is. What was he thinking? So the basic understanding is that he knew that Yaakov was very righteous. He knew Esav was flawed. But God hid from him how flawed Esav was. And he saw the qualities of Esav, and he wanted to bring them out. And he wanted to make a partnership with Yaakov. They together would be the Jewish people. That was Isaac's plan. But God hid from him that Esav really didn't want that. He had sold out, and that was the indication that he sold his birthright before, which years earlier, which Yitzhak was not privy to, didn't know that, but that was the symbol that he realized then that no, Esav is out. Esau is not, he does not want to become part of the Jewish people. But the plan was to make, it's unbelievable. The Roman Empire, which was the antithesis of the Jewish people. As I mentioned to you before, the most converts happened proportionally in the time of the Roman persecution, because people saw the cruelty of Rome and the kindness of Judaism, and the stark contrast between the gladiators and feeding people to the lions and the cruelty. It struck people that there is goodness, there's righteousness in the world. They're important, as opposed to the slave and the downtrodden in the class systems that existed in Rome. So, but imagine if the Roman Empire was actually a righteous structure that was the other half of the Jewish people, and they listened to the Torah and how to act. That'd be amazing. I don't know what it would look like, but a world where the superpower that took care of all the business would be a really holy Roman Empire, not what it was, but a really righteous empire, and that was structuring the world and getting everyone in the world to be part of the mission. And the Jews would be learning Torah in the land of Israel. That's what they would do. But they would all be one people. That's what Isaac wanted. But Esav really had sold that out. And I want to explain to you a little bit how he sold that out. And this is going to be a little bit of a understanding into something you got to watch out for. You got to really watch out for this, because this is one of the great challenges of Esav, and he failed at this. So those people who are, living in a society that is considered the Western world and considered an aspect of Esav, have to be careful that they don't get caught into the negative Esav, which could have been good, but he wasn't personally successful. Understand what this is. So I mentioned to you before, Esav saw the red lentils and says, I want that red stuff. Now, it's very significant because he was very affected by the externalities. So much so that it says that he fooled his father with his mouth. He asked his father questions that would indicate he was really righteous when he wasn't. And people misunderstand that the prophet Isaac was fooled by Esav's questions. He asked him questions about that seemingly, he wants to be so holy, but that's not the deeper meaning. Really, he didn't fool Isaac. Isaac was a prophet, but there was something good about him. But sometimes people, they're only good. They're good what they say from the externalities, but it doesn't affect their internal. They say a lot of nice words. They say things, they present themselves in a certain way. That's not what's happening on the inside. And Esav was a person that really understood and presented himself in a nice way. Although inside he was not that way. And that's why he's so affected by the red lentils, because he sees it and he sees the externalities. I want to share with you I hope I could do it today. I can, because it's an incredible story, and it's a protocol that used to happen in the city of Rome, and I believe it's still being done in the Vatican. Personally, the Vatican has the stolen items they took from Jerusalem, in my humble opinion, because how could they not? Right? You see the Arch of Titus, when Titus destroyed the temple, and he carries off the vessels. I mean, certain ones were already hidden, like the ark was already hidden before the end of the first temple time, so it would never be captured. But we see in the Arch of Titus the picture of them carrying the golden menorah. I mean, it was like, it was 4.5 feet. It was big. A solid gold candelabra. It must be worth $1 billion. Where'd you put it? We see that you got the evidence right there. You got caught red-handed. There's a picture carrying it to Rome that you made. Where'd you put it? So if you go, I'm not telling you to go to the Vatican, but if you do, you say, hey, can I get downstairs into the secret rooms? They're not letting you in there. So I could be what I'm about to tell you now. I do believe the Romans still do this. But what happened was, this was done every 70 years. They did the following procession. They went and they took a very strong, hefty guy. And they took a crippled guy, couldn't walk properly. And they took the strong guy and they put him on top of the crippled guy. Now, what does that represent? So if you look in the story in the Torah, it says that Jacob, when he fought against the angel, he got wounded. He hit him in his leg and he limped. Then he was healed afterwards, but they leave that part out. But he for a period, not very long, but he was crippled by this in the story of his battle with the angel. And then he's healed. So the crippled person was to represent Jacob, Yaakov. And the strong, hefty guy was representing Esav, the father of Rome. And they made an announcement throughout Rome. They decorated the streets and they announced This will happen once in a lifetime because only they did it once every 70 years. If you're going to see it, come see it. You don't, you'll never see it again, this procession. And they would carry the the strong guy on top of the lame guy. But they did another thing, it says. They had with them, which I don't know, maybe they don't have it anymore because it's too spiritual, maybe it's lost. I don't know what, but there was a famous clothing of the first human being, of Adam, which was stolen by, it went down with different people who had it, Nimrod, and then Esau stole it. So they dressed the strong guy with this special spiritual garment, which is the first garments that Adam had. And they put on him a mask. What mask they put on this guy? Well, they put on him a mask from a rabbi. The rabbi's name was Rabbi Yishmael. He was the high priest, he was Kohen Gadol. And during the time of the Hadrian control of Israel, when they were torturing the Jews, so there were 10 Jewish martyrs that were the leading sages of the generation who he killed and he tortured. One of them was Rabbi Yishmael. And what happened was he started there's a whole story there that what happened was there were two rabbis there. The first one was Ben Gamliel, who was the prince. He was in charge, and the other one was Rabbi Yishmael, who was the high priest. And what happened was they were saying who was going to kill first, and everyone said, no, don't. I don't want to see my comrade die. And anyway, he decided the Hadrian, the Roman decided to torture first Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, who was the prince, and what happened was Rabbi Yishmael screamed out. The daughter of the Caesar of Hadrian came down and saw Rabbi Yishmael and said, "He's so beautiful. Please, father, spare him." And the father said, "No, when I can't spare him, I'm going to kill him. But to do you a favor, the Romans were masters of cruelty and torture. So they said they were going to flay his skin from his face. And he would make a mask out of the face, and he would go and give that to his daughter. And that's what happened. They tortured Rabbi Yishmael, and they flayed the skin from his face, and they made a mask. And you say, well, but the Nazis did similar things also. I don't want to, but that's the cruel, because the Nazis were part of Asa. They were the worst of Asa. They were a Molech. They were the epitome of the most negative, the grandson of Asa, who was all the negativity of Asa, but gathered into one whose main mission is the Nazi mission. And they still exist in the world today. Those people are the people that will want to kill Jews at all costs. And, suicide bombers, simply put, would have to be, part of that characteristic also, because they'd rather take your billions of dollars from the EU instead of going and building Gaza into a paradise, which is a beautiful Mediterranean seafront property. Instead of doing that, they rather spend all of their money and all their wealth to go into and to kill Jews. So that's the Molech. But what happened is that so what happened was they were very cruel. So they went and they pulled off the face of Rabbi Yishmael. They made it into a mask. Now that happened prior to that, years before that. And now what happened in this ceremony, or maybe it was at the same time, no, but the ceremony happens after they already have the mask. So they would take the strong guy on top of the cripple, and they would dress him in the coat of Adam, and also the face of Rabbi Yishmael, the beautiful face of Rabbi Yishmael. And they'd go through the streets and they'd say, "What did Jacob gain by taking the blessings? Because we, Rome, are on top. We're persecuting the Jews. We destroyed the temple. We're on top. What did he gain? See? Didn't gain anything. We're winning." And then they would say, but woe's to us on the day when that cripple gets up. Because they knew that even though they're on their high horse now, they all had the fear, which that is that the Jewish Hashem God will fulfill his promises as he will, and he will bring the Jews back to the land of Israel. And that's why so many people fight the land of Israel. That's why the Catholic Church didn't recognize Israel until 67. In 48, when people said to him, wait a minute, you have one promise in your religion, which is that the Jews will never come back to the land of Israel. And that's not true. They came back. So they said, no, that's talking about Zion. Zion is Jerusalem. So from 1948, they kept pushing it off. 1967, already we had Jerusalem. So they really had a problem. How does the Catholic Church acknowledge that the things are happening? Okay, so then we have people change their minds in different groups within the Christian system, evangelicals, in different ways that people have made peace with the ideas of the Jews returning. But the ideas of the Jews returning means that God promised He will bring back the temple, bring back the truth coming through his people. Okay, and that's the idea of the coming of the Mashiach, the Messiah. So what happens is that the Romans, even though they were celebrating, they were on top, but they had to admit that we're afraid that when Jacob gets up, when the Jewish people rise again, that's gonna be the downfall of Rome, and so they had to admit that, and that's the fear that they express today. Okay, now it's a very strange, cruel, and bizarre procedure. We understand that the procession is weird, but I want to focus on one aspect. And you can understand that by the image of the strong guy on the weak guy, because it's very external. It's like a guy who's strong, a guy who's crippled, and who's a sign who's greater, But it's their idea of the strong-looking person. And then the garments are not their garments. It's the garments that they stole from Esau, stole from Adam. And the face is not their face. It's the face of the holy Kohen Gadol, high priest of Israel. So what is a face? What is the word face? Where does the word face come from? What's the root of the word face? And it's from the root of the word facade. The face is the mask you put on. And that was Esav. It was a mask. It was externalities. In Torah, the word for face is called panim. The word panim is the same word as pnim, which means your inner essence, your inside. The face is supposed to, and it does, reflect the holiness and level of the internal aspects of the person. That's what a face is meant to do. You look at someone's face, he's happy, he's sad, he's mean. You look at a criminal, there's something wrong. Because you could see a cruelty in the face, and his aspects of his soul leave him, and it shines out to his face. You can't. We don't. That's what I look at an evil person. I don't look if I see a person that I really, they're cruel people. I see the picture. I don't look at their picture on the news. I don't want to be affected by it. So not in person, because you see there's a cruelty. There's a internal aspect. You see a real hardened criminal, his face, something not right. You can see it. You see a holy person, you see something else. The face is what shines out the inner aspects. But in Rome, the face is a facade. It's the presentation that I make. That's the problem with Esav. And that's why he's compared to a chazir, a pig. Because I mentioned to you before, the chazir, there are only 4 animals. The 2 signs of kosher animals is a split hoof and they chew their hoof. They chew their cud. And there are only 4 animals with one sign, not the other. Every other animal either has no signs or both signs, right? Like sheep and goats and cows, they have both signs. They chew their cud and they split hooves. There are 4 animals that have one, not the other. The camel, the arnevet, and the shafan. It's discussion what those are in English exactly, but those 3 animals, they chew their cud, but their hooves are not split. So you can see they're not kosher, even though they chew their cud, which is an internal process. But on the outside, you see right away that they don't have split hooves. There's only one animal that has the opposite, that has a external sign of holiness, a split hoof, but inside doesn't chew its cud, and that's the pig. And the pig sticks out its paw. Look at me, I'm kosher. That's the hypocrisy. I want to say, and I'll explain a little bit that, but that's the thing I said to you before about Donald Trump, why he deserves to be the president, and hopefully will stand up and pull out the good of Esav. Why? Because what drives me crazy about the politicians is these guys are the biggest hypocrites. They're hypocrites. And yeah, it could be, JFK was having all the affairs and LBJ was a degenerate and all he did these things. I mentioned you last week, but they didn't have the internet and they didn't have the recordings and they had people now, the politicians, no, you be a politician, never say what you feel, don't say it out because it's going to come out. Don't show. Always keep your face. Always keep your position. But that's not the internal component. And I'll prove it to you. You look at these politicians. They said the same in the same fervor they say today of whatever position they hold. You could find videos 10 years earlier of them saying the opposite thing with the same fervor. Illegal immigration is the worst thing in the world. And today it's like, we need them. Now, okay, people can grow and they can change their opinions. That's fair. But I don't believe that's what's happening. I believe what's happening is that there is no internal content. It's whatever the accepted norms are of the society I must go by, which 10 years ago was illegal immigration was bad. Now it's good. So all of those rules and norms I keep, and I now present the face according to that. What am I really about? I'm not going to show you that. That's hypocrisy. That is the greatest danger. And that's one of the reasons they can't stand Donald Trump, because he comes along and says, listen, this is what it is. I don't care if you like me or not. Wait a minute. How dare you go against our accepted rules? We are gentlemen. When we go and we cause a revolt in another country, or we go and we put you on trial for some accounting error and sue you for $500 million, it's because we love laws. Oh my gosh. Really? Really? So these people. So Donald Trump. I said, tell you last time, he's not the king of Israel. He's not the holiest man. He's got his shortcomings. He's got his good traits. He's got his bad traits. But he tells you what he says. Hey, we'll make you the president just because of that. Just because you're the first guy of a politician who says, "Listen, this is what I think. This is what I believe. This is what I do. You don't like me. You don't like me. Am I okay? This is what I feel. The other guys, no, they play, It's like I always wondered, they have. I don't know. There were those who follow football. I don't know, because I don't want to cast aspersions on anybody. But some of the great quarterbacks, when they were talking after the game, it was like they would talk about like their offensive line, and they would talk about their great receivers, and they were very, very humble. And you didn't know if they were like prepped before, like nobody wants to hear you saying how great you are, or they're really humble, you know. And then you hear these guys talking about how great they are, like, and you're disgusted. So I don't know when they're humble, if they're really humble, they're pretending that they're humble. I don't know. But those that are sensitive, no, people don't like to hear that. So okay, so good. If you're honestly humble, you're honestly humble. If you're not honestly humble, maybe if you want to try to be, it's a good start. But when you're faking and you're all outside, that's the problem. That's what happened to Esav. And that's why he became so bad. Because what happened was that Isaac was trying to make him part of the Jewish people. He was saying, take your externality that's good and attach it to the internal function of the world. Your brother Jacob is learning Torah, and he is totally hooked in. Now you get the outside world to be subjugated to an internal holy vision. But what he did was he switched the external and said, this is what's important. And that made him end up being the ultimate liar and really creating the break where he breaks from God, because now that I don't need the internal life system of the world, I just make my rules and make my facade. It's the ultimate idolatry. It's not real. And we're creating it, and we're God, and we're going to figure it out. And as God stays out of the problem, we'll solve this and we'll solve that, and we'll send you to the moon, whatever it is, because it misses the source of existence. It creates a facade. That's what he did. And then when Isaac realizes, I wanted to claim, I'm not going through it now, but when they claim that if you look at the words, what Isaac was doing, he was trying to then just make him a righteous non-Jew. He was trying to make, okay, you're not part of the Jewish people, but be a righteous non-Jew. He says, on your sword you will live. What do you mean live? Live by the sword? We know that whenever the Torah is talking about life, it's talking about real life. How can you live on a sword? Sword is a sword. The temple was not allowed. You could not use iron in the temple. Nothing. There was no iron in the temple. There was gold. There was silver. There was copper. There was no iron. You couldn't even use iron to build things in the temple, because the iron, which is in the book of Daniel, is the symbol of Rome, is the sword that kills people. So how could he live by his sword? Sword is death in a spiritual sense. And the answer is because that's who he was. And if he would use his power, even when he rejected being part of the Jewish people, but he would use his power now to bring out, with his power of the sword, to bring out holiness in the world by assisting Yaakov in his mission, he would attain life. And that's really, if you look at Isaac's second half, the brachas he ends up giving Esau, that's what he's really hoping. He's hoping, okay, he didn't want to be, I wanted him to be part. He's not. But now, at least, I want you to go, and I want you to connect to the mission. Connect to the mission, which is really what we talk about for Bnei Noach. It's really connecting to that mission. But to do that, you got to say, okay, I might not know, all the commandments. I might not know all the things in Torah, but I know what's valuable, and I want to attach to that instead of the hypocrisy of creating a facade of society and making that your religion. And if you don't believe me, just look at the I mean, America's kind of waking up from it, but there was a new religion for 4 years in America. It was a religion, and it still is a religion for many Americans. It's called wokeism. It's a religion. Why is it different than a religion? This is what, you go to jail if you say something anti-woke, they put people in jail for it. This is the highest belief system of what the values were America. and this is what you and you had to accept it. And many people shut up and didn't want to say anything against it because I don't want to lose my career. So they make a religion, and then imagine if everyone in the world or everyone in the society buys into it. And now that's what was happening. America was really trying a new religion out for the past 4 years called wokeism, and it got half the country. And now, even though the overwhelming victory, and it was a victory for Donald Trump, but it's what, like 52%. This is like not like a 99%. It means you got, over 4% of the people who still have, you know, these other ideas. But whatever it is, I don't care what the religion is, wokeism, this is thatism, it doesn't matter. It's all man-made protocols which don't affect the real heart and soul of the person, and everyone goes along with them, and that is now the soup du jour. And really, the internal part doesn't have to change. You just got, I find it funny. I've seen this type of thing. I don't know why. One time I clicked on something. I got something in my email about the Beatles. So I like the Beatles. So I clicked it. Now, like, with whatever, what do they call those? I forget what it's called. What it's called when they have computer reads the algorithm, right? The algorithm now is like every day I get all this Beatles stuff. I don't, try to look at it. But what happens is that I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, I lost my point. Sorry. Um, yeah, but I forgot what I had to say about that. I was talking about how the how what? No, I wasn't going there. Help me out, Dan. One more. Well, yeah, but I forgot where I was going. I'll get back to the point. The Beatles will,
You
will
were
come back
talking
in a
about
second.
wokeism.
Right. But I was saying, well, I'll get back to the Beatles in a second. I'll figure where I was going with that. But the point I was saying is that people go and they will set up for themselves whatever that belief system is at the time, and that becomes the reason why people do what they do. So now, it could be this system, it could be that system, it could whatever way it is, but it becomes its own idolatry. That's literally what is going on with Asav. I'll get back to that because I don't remember where I was going with there. But anyway, that was what Yitzhak was trying to bring Asav into the system. But the reality was that they were fighting against it because they were stuck in the externalities, and that's what you got to be careful about. A person can do the right things for the wrong reasons. That's okay if you're trying to get to the goodness. So you could try to, I'm not there yet and I'm trying to get there. So that's fair. It's fair. It's called in Torah. You're allowed to go and do something that's not with the greatest intention, if your purpose is to get to the good intention. But when your purpose is to stop there and to be a phony about it, then it becomes really idolatry, because it becomes something else, becomes cut off. I don't know if this is what I was going to say about the Beatles, but it's the same point, which is that in society, a lot of times they change the rules of what it is. And so you see a change, and now you come along with, this is the new way to say things, and people will. Oh, I know what I was going to say. The point is like this: sometimes what people do is they act very, very nice. And this is the conversation I had with people before. Let's say a person doesn't believe in God. Okay, So they believe that there really is no objective moral reality. So why do they do what they do? Why do they act nice? Do you ever ask a person who literally doesn't believes you came from an accident from monkeys, and they don't believe in you're higher than the animal kingdom at all. So we asked the person, why do you go and not steal? Well, I'm afraid I'm gonna get caught. Okay, that's fair. That's okay. Do you think it's morally wrong? So what do you think? What do you think they say to those things? Guy doesn't believe in God. I say to him, why do you not steal? Let me put the question a little better. This is what Nietzsche said, and this is what Hitler took on as his belief system. If we are animals and we are just evolved animals, then the lion kills the lamb. He doesn't go and say, I got to help the lamb and make a social program for him. So why, if you believe that, why do you act? Is there any moral reason you do what you do? So I'm sure you're all familiar with the answer. Well, what do people say when you ask them this question? They have a standard answer, right? You understand the question because it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to ask a person who doesn't believe in God, well, do you believe it's bad, it's evil to murder? They will all want to say, yeah, but the problem is, well, why? The lion kills the lamb. Hitler killed Jews because he said they were vermin, and therefore he said he was justified. What stops a person from the most heinous actions that they could do because they're an animal? I'm serious. I'm asking this as a question. Someone answer me this question. What would somebody say who says they don't believe in God, which in America now, I don't know what the number is. It used to be low. It used to be like less than 20%. I imagine it's much higher now. But if somebody doesn't believe in God, so why? And they believe they just evolved from animals. Why? And there's no therefore moral objective morality because how could there be? Who decides the objective? It's subjective. So if somebody decides that a certain race, God forbid, would say, "Oh, these people are subhuman," so what would stop? What would be the reason that they would say they shouldn't do these heinous acts? James, what do you think?
I could give you a Lockean John Locke answer.
Please.
His philosophy was if we're gonna live together, you're gonna need to give up a little bit of your freedom to have a greater freedom. In other words, keep your stuff. You can
Right.
keep some of your stuff, but not all of it.
Right. So the social contract, essentially.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So what's the problem with the social contract? And this is the answer that everyone gives, whether they know how to quote Locke or not. But what's the fallacy with that argument?
You have bandits.
Not only have bandits, but the bandits are not morally wrong because they don't. I didn't want to sign into the social contract. That's what Hitler said. Hitler said, "Wait a minute. You go in the social contract when you want to be part of the contract. But if you're stronger, you're the Ubermensch, the Superman, you don't want to be part of the contract. The lion doesn't part of the contract with the lamb. The lamb wants to be a contract. So lamb has a contract with the goats and with the horses and whoever else feels they're gonna gain. But if you don't feel you're gonna gain, then why would you go in the contract? You're not bound by it. And this is the part they can't handle. Because at that point, you can't tell them they're morally inferior. You could say, we're going to force you to be part of the contract, whether you like it or not. Okay. That's what the police are for. So don't defund them for all the people not part of the contract. But what that means is that at this point, the society is dictated by the norms of whatever the society sets up at that point. And the people inside of it, what they're really about is fake. And that's what I was saying with the Beatles. It came back to me. So people asked the question on the thing. So it's kind of, was this guy, is this really guy a nice guy? I forgot who it was. Was Linda McCartney really nice? I forgot what it was. Something stupid. Nice. I made myself, what is your definition of a nice guy? Tell me what it is. Because the person asking it is certainly a nice guy. So I had this people all the time. I say, the guy, hey, you're a nice guy. What do you do that's nice? I don't trip old ladies. I don't trip them when they're crossing the street. I don't hurt small farm animals. What do you actually do? Everyone who thinks they're nice, what proactive things are they doing? We say you must go and do good actions every single day. So I can list for you the things that we do in our day. I can go and open up the book here. We have the directory of all the neighbors in Israel. And the first 50 pages are all the kindness centers that are set up by every individual. This guy gives out tables for those who need. This guy gives out chairs. This guy gives out the bridal gowns. There's 30 pages in every small directory in every city of all of the kindness things that people set up for the community. But if you're not proactively doing that, well, you decided you're nice. And I don't know if you can give me a list of all the good things you did, but you think you're nice because you follow the rules of whatever you think are the rules. Comes along Donald Trump and says, I don't accept your rules. What? How dare you? You don't accept our rules? What do you think you are? That's why he's the president. Because the only guy that could lead is the guy that says, I'm not part of the masses. As I told you, the end of the day is the leaders have the face of a dog. Why? Because the dog, one of the reasons is when you walk your dog, he runs in front. And then when you turn the corner, he realizes, the master turned the corner. The people are now woke. We gotta do something about this, So the dog now realizes he turned the corner. He catches up with the master, but what does he do? Then he runs in front like he's leading again. So the generation, look, what's the latest? What's the soup du jour today of the rules of morality? And but you don't, because it's an external thing. And that's the problem with Esau. That's the problem. He was the pig that putting his paw out. He had goodness in him, and his father wanted to make a partnership. He's part of the Jewish people, and Rome would be a really holy Roman Empire. He didn't want that. He says to him, still, you have what to do. You have what to do. You could be part of the panemius, the inside. The internal component is the Jewish people. That's what their job is. The job is a 24. And again, it's not a haughty thing. Once the person wants a job, a person wants 24/7, 13 commandments. First thing you do when you wake up. We had the question when the siren went off today, because the first thing we do when we wake up, we have to thank God for waking us up. So did you say that? You go to the bomb shelter first. That was so because the job starts the first thing in the morning, ends at night, and so a person wants to do that, the person can convert, but doesn't want to do that, but they have to connect themselves to that mission. That's what the Ben Noach wants to do. That's what when Isaac realized that the Esau was not going to be fully part of it, he was trying to attach him somehow to it. And he resisted. And by resisting and making it that the false face, the illusion, the facade is the truth, and that's what's real, and this highfalutin morality that's completely a lie. It's amazing. I mean, I don't know. I know and said what I've said to you before about the ceasefire. I find it shocking. You're pushing for the ceasefire for the terrorists who say our goal is to destroy the other side no matter what. Okay, you're pushing for that. And yet you don't push for the ceasefire that's killed 500,000 Ukrainians, 100 and something thousand Russians. You don't push for that one when you know in the end it's going to have to be a ceasefire and some kind of negotiation. I mean, it's obvious. But how do you negotiate with people that say I want to kill you? So Russia and Ukraine, they're going to have to end this in some way where they're going to be able to get along, because one's not trying to kill the other one. They both want something, so you're going to have to negotiate it. And yet the other side with the Palestinians and Hamas and the Houthis, they want to destroy the other side, and there is no compromise. That's where you call for the ceasefire, not the other one. You see what I'm saying here? I'm not pointing to the Jewish part. I'm just saying the hypocrisy. That's not what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Is it your military industrial complex you want to keep funding? Is it you want? I don't know what's your agenda. But your agenda is not what you say. That's false. That's the facade. And therefore, the solution is that every individual has to try to not be a hypocrite. Know when you're doing things that you are not on the level, but you want to be on the level. That is the crucial aspect, because when you're doing things only for the external reasons and they become ends into themselves, then you've made up a false reality. And that's what Esav did. And that's why part of what we're talking about here is really, and this is why I'm doing this is really because I think that, in the world right now, there is a division. There is a waking up of the aspects of Esav. The Esav is called the Chazir, the pig, but the Chazir also means to return, because he can return the aspects of truth to their place. He could admit what's right. He could bring it back in. And it's not necessarily all of Esav, because we see that there are like the grandson of Esav, which is a Molech, who just will kill the Jews at all costs. But those who want to be connected to beauty, truth, and goodness, connected to God, want to connect to the panemius, the internal component of the world, in whatever way. Right, Tova's got it exactly right. So that's what's happening, and yeah, that's my thought, and I agree with what Tova just wrote. The idea of being waking up from the wokeism is good. Again, it doesn't mean people are necessarily on the idea of truth, but the wokeism, the reason why I pick on that as opposed to all the other false philosophies is just because it became so absurd. It became that up is down, down is up, man is what, man is woman.
Right.
It was a complete breaking of everything. It doesn't mean that the other false philosophies are not still false. And therefore,
Rabbi,
we have to look for the internal truth and connect ourselves to those that are learning Torah in the way and doing the things, and everyone's going to be part of the mission, which was what Esau was offered to be part of. In two different ways. Part of the Jewish people is part of a righteous non-Jew, and on the whole, he didn't want to do it. And some part of him really didn't want to do it, and some part of him today wants to do it. That's the awakening we see in the world right now, where the aspects that want to be connected to the internal system of truth yearn to do that, and Hashem answers everyone in kind and delivers everyone to where they have to be.
Wow.
Okay, questions, ideas,
well
comments.
Said, Rabbi. Well said, Rabbi. I think the way you explained it, it's like a person who is a habitual liar. They always have to remember their lies because they eventually get tripped up in their lies over and over and over. And so the way you've made wokeism sound today is they inevitably get tripped up in their own philosophy, and their whole intent is they're not exactly who they claim to be, and I think
Right.
that's pretty self-evident for the rest of the people that voted in the other direction. They just got sick and tired of the craziness that wokeism was pushing, and it's senselessness, and
Right. But imagine what would have happened in like a society where they're able to get everyone to buy into whatever it is. That becomes the norm. And it's always happened like that. Wokeism, it's just another ism, but there's been many isms along the generations. And if you look back a few years, then this is what the beliefs were that you had to buy into. And if you didn't, you were something wrong with you. And these are all when they're man-made systems, they all, as I've told you many times, when I was a young parent, we were using Dr. Spock's book of you use that today, they called you child abuse.
right.
Again, I didn't take it. Thank God, I didn't take it as as a real doctrine, because I thank God I have the Torah in terms of educating my kids and stuff. But in certain aspects, certain things that were practically discussed in our modern times. So I'd read it, and it was acceptable. And today it's not. And that's the thing. That's what Trump said right last time. Trump said in the beginning when they started this whole walk, he says they're going to take. I remember, it's very funny because he has a very good. He is very good at common sense. He doesn't play around because it's the advantage of like a certain style of person who's very independent. He doesn't, and that's what they don't like about it. They don't like that he's doing. Oh, he's a dictator because he does what he thinks, and he's not.
He can't be controlled, so that they claim he's a dictator. Yeah.
But he said in the beginning when they started with the wokeism, he said they're going to end up taking down, George Washington statues, and everyone laughed. I remember them laughing at him. They were laughing at him. It's like, so they did. So these things play out. But anyway, the point I'm saying is you have to understand, and it's a very amazing thing. The fact that the Jewish word for the fact that the root of the word for face is a facade, is the externality, is the danger. In the Torah, the word for face is panim, which means your inside. Your face is supposed to be a reflection of your inside. It's not a facade. When it's a facade, that means you got something else inside. You're in serious danger. And then when you worship that facade, that becomes the goal. That's already idolatry.
Wow.
That's already idolatry.
Wow. That's I hope that's a punch in the face for a few people out there listening, and it wakes you right up in the right direction for sure. Excellent session, Rabbi. Does anybody else in the group have any comments or questions for Rabbi Ingber?
Okay. All right. Very good. Good speaking to you. Oh, next week I'm not on. So next week I will not be on. So it'll be 2 weeks we're back. Okay.
Got it. Yeah, I was chatting with Rod. He's getting into a bit of a conflict with the first Sunday of the month that he may need to
I might have to readjust the first Sunday of the month to not have class, because I have a class at Torch that morning, and it's difficult to get back and to get ready for the second class. So
wait, so that's going to be, that was this week, or that's next week?
That was this week. That was this week.
Right.
Yeah, so he may have to on the beginning of the month, but let's play that by ear for next month for sure. And as you mentioned last week, you're planning on being back in the stateside soon.
Back in the States, we're working on. It looks like our Texas date is going to be February 1st. So we'll get information soon. We finalize that. But those who want to come out, we're going to have a concert. I think David is on the discussion. We got to get the band back together. David, if that's you on the thing, please call George and Ringo, and let's get the whole band back together. So we'll do that in Texas. We'll have a speaking thing, and hope to see you guys there. And if someone's in Florida, message me also. We'll be in Florida, and anyone in Atlanta will be, God willing, in Atlanta too.
Excellent.
Okay, guys,
excellent.
remember, this is the conclusion of the class. The two that joined us late, it is this afternoon class on Sunday. Even though it says 4 p.m., it is actually 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Central Standard. So hopefully next Sunday, well, not next Sunday, but the Sunday after at 3 p.m., we'll see you again. Don't forget, Monday night at 7, Rabbi Avener. Tuesday night, Rabbi Weissman, and then Rabbi Wobie. And then Wednesday night and Thursday is my class, and then Thursday night, Rabbi Wobie again. So
maybe we can get to Manny and to Mary. Maybe we can get them the recording for the tape.
yes, they will get that. As hey, you guys, if make Amani, are you on the email list?
I'm checking out, guys. Great to see you in 2 weeks.
All right, Rabbi. Blessings.
Okay, good. So
see you in 2 weeks.
I'll make sure that you get the notice and today's class in the email.
All right, folks, on that note, I think it's a good time for us to sign out off the Noahide World Center social media pages. We'll be back in 2 weeks from today with our Working Together series with Rabbi Karmi Ingber. And we'll keep all Israel in your prayers for sure. As you heard from Rabbi Ingber at the beginning, they had the sirens going off this morning. So much for the ceasefire. And so keep Israel and all the Jewish people in your prayers. All right, till 2 weeks from today, we'll be back. Till then, have a wonderful, wonderful week, everybody. Bye for now.
Shalom, shalom.